Hey y'all, I'm JamesWright and welcome back to Wizards News. Today I'm going to show you my skill tree. Don't laugh. I've had a lot of people asking me to explain the skill tree. What do all of these stats mean and how do they actually come out in play? For those of you who are not gamers, this is kind of a new thing. For a lot of gamers, this is fairly common and something that is relatively well known. But there are a lot of things in this that are just worded differently or put together slightly differently than normal. And so this has created a good bit of confusion. And I want to actually take you through this step by step and hopefully clear up some of the cobwebs. So first, let's take you into my profession and show you what I've got in here. Once you come up in here, you have the option of switching to Auror or Magizoologist or Professor. And I have a bunch of people asking me, can you switch from one to the other? Yes, I can switch right over here. I'm going to switch to Auror here for a moment. I can go into their skill tree, and you see I've done some in here because I wanted to get down here to the Focus Charm, because this Focus Charm makes it fairly easy to get the spell cast bonus in the achievements. And I might talk about that a little bit later. But then I can switch back here to Professor, which is my main skill tree, hop into that skill tree, and we can come down here and see what all I've done in that. So you can switch back and forth. It's just whatever work you've done in one doesn't translate over to the other. You do keep whatever you did in one skill tree or the other. But here you can see what I've done in my skill tree. So what do all of these icons mean? Now I can come up here and I can click on one, and this will increase my accuracy. Down here you can see Flights of Fancy, and it will say accuracy +3, accuracy +4. And I come down to this last one, it'll give me accuracy +5, and it'll increase it. Down here the price is 5 books. There's the rub. But right now I'm not going to work on accuracy. Let's actually go and take a look at what do all of these mean. So if you come down to the bottom and you click on the expertise, the little witch there, and this will actually take you into a bit of information. Here at the top you can see I am currently level 10, and that is a rough idea of how strong you are in fortresses. Your actual level has very little to do with this, so if a lot of people are saying I'm a level 40, but their level in this may be far less because they've been focusing on foundables. And so your level in your skill tree is very important for how well you will do in your fortresses. Just below that you can see what is your proficiency and what is your deficiency. A professor is proficient against curiosities. Those are your pixies and your werewolves. So that means I do very well against them. I am more powerful against them and I have a better defense against them. I am deficient on dark foes. So if I come up against a dark wizard or a Death Eater, those I'm going to have more problem with. I'm not going to have as good of a defense against them, and I'm not going to have as much power against them. So I want to keep in mind what I'm good at. And if you are in a group, then you want to actually pick the ones you are good at. Everyone should pick what is easiest for them, and that makes it far easier for everyone. Just below that you have listed your skills, and these are the hats. When you come down here in your skill tree, you have a skill right off the bat. This will give me an increased power with foes that have at least one impairment on them. Down below that you'll see many other hats that you can then add on, and those will all then show up down here underneath your deficiencies and proficiencies. Underneath that you now have your hexes and charms that you're capable of doing and what level they are. Here you can see my deterioration hex. That is at 8 out of 8. So I want to make that as strong as I possibly can because I'm professor, and that is what I'm going to be focusing on. Deterioration hex, I put that on everyone I can because that gives me 40 more hit when I hit them and 40 more hit when they hit me. So it's a great bonus to have right off the bat. You can see on the Mending Charm, I only have 1 on that because I had to get to it to get down to my skill tree. I'll be showing that off a little bit. And I've done a little bit on each of the other ones. I am going to be working on my Protection Charm more because that one is probably the second most valuable out of the 4 that a professor has. Down below that you have your focus. This is the amount of energy you have to use your hexes and charms. I start off the battle with 2, and I have a maximum capacity of 13. So that means I can hold on to 13 focus right now. But that means I have to use potions to get them, or I have to defeat foes. Every time you defeat foes in a level, then you get more focus. Or if you're an Auror, then you have other ways of dealing with focus, but we're not even going to get there because Aurors don't even think about focus. They have more than they need. And then below that, we have all of our stats and what our current ratings are. So with the current skill tree, I can't improve my power, my precision, my deficiency defense, and my regular defense. Those have been maxed out in the current skill tree. There's nothing else in there that I can add to them. But some of these others I can work on fixing them up a little bit. Usually for most people, I say the very first thing you need is power. Power is really kind of the big thing. That's what allows you to do one-hit knockouts, and it allows you to march through your enemies much faster. So get as much power as you can quickly. After power, the second thing most people focus on is their stamina. This is your hit points. How much can you take before you get knocked out? The reason I haven't maxed that out yet that is I've been actually focusing on trying to learn the skill tree and playing with different things. So my skill tree looks a little bit of a mess because I am trying to learn more rather than just trying to optimize. So let's actually go through these and talk through them. Your stamina, that is your hit points. So that's the number at the top that lets you know, hey, I'm about to die. Underneath that, you have power. This is the amount of oomph that you hit with. This is the actual amount of damage you're going to be doing to your foe. Then next we have the Protego Power. The Protego Power is the amount of protection you can put up. So when you swipe that Protego, this is how much are you going to actually benefit this. If you don't Protego at all, it's going to give you a full damage to you. If you do Protego and you don't have anything on this, you'll get a 50% damage. And the more Protego Power you put on, the more it's going to take off of their hit. Next, you have Precision. And in my book, this is one of the more powerful ones. And I say that you should probably max this out soon after Power or right around the time you max out Stamina. And what Precision is Precision is the chance that you're going to get a critical hit. And a critical hit is like a massive thing that feels great because you deal a lot of damage really fast. So it takes your power and then multiplies that so you can do far more damage than you would normally. So amping up your Precision means you're going to be getting more critical hits than if you don't have it. The next thing under that is Critical Power. So yes, you may have gotten that critical hit, but how strong is that? That's the Critical Power. And yes, it is good to beef this up, but it's more important to get more critical hits than it is your critical hit to be strong. Next, we have Proficiency Power. This is the triangle with a plus in it. And this means that if you are proficient against something, so for me, that's a werewolf or a pixie because I am a professor, that means I'm going to have more power against them. So not only am I normally stronger against them, but now with Proficiency Power, I'm going to be even that much more stronger against them. I don't focus on that one that much because you're going to be fighting everyone anyways, and so this really only helps you 1/3 of the time. Although it's a little bit more than 1/3 of the time, but it's not as big of a thing as some of the others. Deficiency Defense, the only reason I maxed out on that, it was actually really cheap to do it. I was able to do it with basically just scrolls, and so I maxed it out because I could. That is a defense against what you are deficient. So if I go up against a Dark Wizard or a Death Eater, they're going to be doing less damage to me because I've beefed up my Deficiency Defense. Defense Breach. This is the one that kind of confuses some people because it's kind of in your power, kind of in your attack, but it's more or less how much of your foe's defense are you going to knock down. So they may have a certain level of defense. The Deficiency Defense then takes that and drops it down a little bit so that their defense isn't quite as strong as it would be. And I would normally say this is a good thing to focus on because it's kind of the same thing as power, but in percentage-wise, this does not get you quite as much as power does. So, yeah, it's good to go, and I'll probably max it out here soon because I only have one more for it. But yeah, for now, I'm not really focusing on it that much. And then the bottom one down here is accuracy. And I've had a bunch of people say that is when you're actually focusing and you're trying to get that pixie, that makes making the pixie easier to get. And that's a load of trash. Accuracy has nothing to do with actually aiming the wand and trying to get that pixie. Accuracy has to do with how much they dodge. So it sounds kind of odd in that what does my accuracy have to do with how chances they are dodge? But if you think about it, that if my accuracy is really good, then they're not going to be able to dodge out of the way of it. So the higher my accuracy is, the less chance my foe is going to dodge. And this is really important with some of the foes that do dodge quite a bit, pixies. They get out of the way of your attack. And so if you're doing a lot of pixies, you may want to beef this up. But honestly, I don't think it's one that's as important as the others. And so that's why I really haven't done much in it because it's down the list a little ways. Foes don't dodge that much, but when they do, it's really annoying. So now that we know about all these details, let's actually jump back over to the skill tree and take a look at that and understand how the skill tree works. And so you can see up here at the top, I've done 100 of the 134 possible. And that sounds like, wow, I'm getting really close there. But the farther you get into it, the more books you need. And those red books are really hard to get. And that is the name of the game when it comes to grinding for a lot of people, is that they're trying to get those red books. That was what was great about this last community day, because I could get a lot more books than I normally could in a 3-hour period. So we can scroll down through this, and most of these, you see the exact same icons you saw before. So right here at the top, we have the stamina. And that's the stamina icon. Every time I do this, it's going to add 7 stamina or it's going to add 8 stamina. And I've maxed this one out because there's nothing else down underneath it. Then down below that, we have these squares. These, again, are your hexes and charms. Red are hexes. And so here you can see I mastered this one. And then there's the exact same icon down here below it. That is the next step. And there are actually 2 steps in this towards mastering the deterioration hex. So all of the hexes and charms are in those square boxes. And then you have these hats. These are your skills that you can learn. And these are kind of the extra extra bonuses. They don't have anything to do with your stats as much as they give you a step up, and each profession is going to have slightly different things. So read through them and understand what you can possibly do in there. And for me, one of the big ones I want to do is strength in numbers, because this will increase my power again. Even though my power has been maxed out in the skill tree, I can still increase the power a little bit, because if I have an enhancement on me, so I put a charm on myself or someone else put a charm on me, then this will increase my power by 5 more. That's big, but it takes green books, and most of these skills take a lot of green books. Now for the other 2 professions, most of the time the green books basically just go into your skills on the side. And that's nice, but for professors, you also are going to be using green books other places in your skill tree, and a lot of the hexes and charms are also going to take green books. And that's a pain because you only get green books during brilliant events. But the nice thing is, because of that, you're not using as many red books as a professor. So this is the trade-off. And in most cases, I think I would prefer getting the green books than having to get the red books. So professor has a little bit easier that way, and in some ways not as much. Now my next thing that I'm really gunning for is getting this focus, the start focus right over here on the side. I want to get down to that because I want to increase my focus. That will allow me to use more hexes and charms right off the bat. I don't have to use a potion to increase my focus. But to get to that focus, I need to complete this skill right here. And that means that I'm going to have to get another 15 books to this. So that's an entire brilliant event just to get this one skill. And it's going to be a useful one because it will increase my defense by 6 if I have one enhancement on myself. Great. I prefer the other one, but because I'm really trying to get down here to the focus, I'm going to do this skill next. Some of these you'll see that there's a certain number of steps. So if I click on this one, I've done 2 of them, but I can come down here farther and see that there are more steps so I could increase my accuracy. But this is going to take red books. So I'm probably not going to do that because I don't want to mess with accuracy right now. So right now, my current plan is during the next brilliant event, I'm going to be getting this skill. So that allows me to then work on the focus down below it. As soon as I get those focus put in there, then I'm going to come down here a little farther and I'm going to be working on my stamina and finishing it up. I just have these 2 more to finish to get my stamina, but you can see there's a lot of books to be on there. But the stamina increase is really worth it. And then you get to the bottom and look, there's more skills coming. And so this is kind of the idea that the skill tree can increase down. And so once you've built this up, then maybe you can get more, and the maximums on power and whatnot can move and you can do more. Or maybe there'll be other stats that come in that change different dynamics in the game. I'm not quite sure how this will work, but I'm really looking forward to adding more because this is a lot of fun growing a skill tree. Now the next question that comes is, what is the best optimal possible way to build your skill tree? And that is, there is no best possible way. Everyone's going to have a slightly different way of doing it. For me, I like power, I like stamina, I want to increase my focus, but everyone's going to have a slightly different thing that they're looking at. Some people really do like working on their defense because they're the type of person who likes to sit back and soak up damage. That is kind of the style of the Magizoologist. They're the person who sits back and relaxes a bit and helps people out and helps healing, and that's the way it goes. If you go into an aura, they're all about power and knocking down the door and bashing people over the head with a mallet. And every personality out there is going to have a slightly different thing that they like to focus on. So my usual suggestion is, don't worry about finding the optimal way to build your skill tree. You will eventually add on a lot of these here and there and be able to fill your skill tree out rather well. But once you understand how the skill tree works and what all these symbols mean and what they will improve, so I know that when I add this on, I'm going to be increasing my maximum focus. And so that isn't the amount of focus I start with, but the amount of focus that I possibly can hold at a given time. And I know that if I want to upgrade this, then that's what will increase. Once you understand the skill tree and what it all means, then it makes it much easier and you can try and figure out what you want. Now I want to bring you over here to the hub, and I'll leave a link to this down below. And this is a way where you can actually plan your skill tree ahead of time. So I can actually come in here and I can click what all I have. I've done this, I've done this, I've done that twice, I've done this twice. And then you can actually go through here and see what you've done, what your current stats are, and know that if I do this next, or if I do this next, you can actually then get an idea of which one of these 2 is better, and you can see how your stats will actually end out. And so come in here and fill out your skill tree and actually get to know. Then you can plan out, do I want to go with this next or do I want to go with this next? And then you can see what is that going to do to my stats and how is that going to help me out. And then it also tells you up here how many scrolls and red books and green books you're actually going to need to do this whole process. So this is a really handy little chart for figuring it out and actually knowing what it is. And then if you do ever forget what all of these icons mean, you can scroll down here to the bottom and it gives you a quick definition of all of them, as well as some as it actually gives the math of how it goes into calculating it. Now, a week or so ago, I did a video on failing at a challenge, and I did Forest Chamber 5, I think it was, and failed, and it was a pretty epic fail, and it was a good chance to actually learn about how chambers were being done. I'm working on doing a video about how to actually go back to that and do it. Now, I have since gone back, and I've done Tower Chamber 5, and I've done Dark Chamber 1 all by myself. But I want to go back and actually go through what I've learned from that and what is coming into that. So if that's something you want to hear, let me know, but this will probably take a little while because there's a lot of little nuances that go into that. But that being said, I'm about to upload a video to Patreon so that they can see me taking down Forest Level 5. It was kind of fun, and so I'm going to put that up there, and once I actually do the What Did I Learn, I'll probably be putting clips of that in. The skill tree really is one of those things that makes this a lot of fun. It is incredibly different from Pokemon Go because of this skill tree. This is where the strategy really comes into the game, and especially when you get groups together and you're playing with each other and you each have different deficiencies and proficiencies, it makes it a lot of fun to figure out how you can mesh together and make this all work. I am sure I've created a whole bunch of other questions. Go ahead and throw them down below and I'll answer as many as I can get around to, as well as the community is very good about answering questions. If you do have anything specific, feel free to hop on to the Discord server, the Wizards News Hive Mind, and that's a place where I bounce a few ideas off of people, as well as it is a good place to answer questions and to get to know other wizards and witches. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and think about becoming a patron on Patreon. You can see some of the other videos and things that I've been making as well. So I think that's about it for now. Until next time, have a magical day. So is a professor proficient or deficient against chocolate frogs? That'd be kind of interesting because you know that Salazar Slytherin knows.